I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. First was something that had been talked about Netanyahu, who now is back in power in Israel. And it was pertaining to the Messiah. So we know that they are setting up for an earthly king, which I believe now is going to be King Charles III. But let's just listen to this from Israel 365 News. Netanyahu's most solid connection to the Messiah was through Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Lubavitch Chabad leader, who died in 1994. The two first met in 1984 when Netanyahu was Israel's ambassador to the United Nations. Before Netanyahu returned to Israel in 1988 to join Likud, the Rebbe gave him advice which proved to be at least partly prophetic. You will fight with 119 people, presaging the coalition troubles that are plaguing the Prime Minister to this day. And this was written while he was still Prime Minister. Rabbi David Nachshon, a close friend of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who witnessed the dialogue, related that the Rebbe was confident that some great good would come out of Netanyahu's political trials. It really pains me as a friend, as a brother, as a close friend, to see how people constantly spill Netanyahu's blood, Rabbi Schneerson confided to Nachshon. But I have a surprise for you. He's going to come out of it, and he'll stand tall on God's side. He has a promise from the Rebbe, and he's going to make it through this. We've seen it happen up to now, and that's how it's going to be now as well. He will make it through this, and he will continue. And I hope he'll be able to hand his keys over to the Mashiach, the Messiah, and we will have the complete and true redemption. The Lubavitch Rebbe was not the only prominent tzaddik, righteous man, with high expectations for Netanyahu. Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri, one of the most influential Sephardic spiritual leaders of the century, who passed away in 2006 at the age of 106, met with Netanyahu in 1997 during his first term as prime minister. Rabbi Kaduri whispered a long message into the politician's ear. Rabbi Shmuel Shmuley, a follower of Rabbi Kaduri, revealed that Kaduri had always maintained that Netanyahu would serve a very long time, and after his term in office, the Messiah would arrive. Before his death, Kaduri had said that he expected that the Jewish Messiah was going to arrive soon, and that he had met him a year earlier. Rabbi Levi Sudri noted that many parallels between Benjamin Netanyahu and Jonathan, the son of biblical King Saul, were apparent. He suggested that Netanyahu is serving the function of Moshiach ben Yosef, Messiah from the house of Joseph, the first half of the two-stage messianic process. Mashiach ben Yosef is a practical, mundane process that includes the ingathering of the exiles and building up of the land of Israel. The second stage, Mashiach ben David, Messiah from the house of David, is a miraculous process which includes the reestablishment of the Davidic dynasty. There you go. So this is what they're going to do when they put the earthly king, the anointed one, in the fulfillment of restoring the Davidic dynasty. And I believe that that's going to be King Charles III. And the completion of the third temple. So they're saying that this is a miraculous process that includes the reestablishment of the Davidic dynasty. So they're going to put the earthly king on the throne, and the deadly sword wound will be healed that Israel suffered from its monarchy centuries ago, and the completion of the third temple. Rabbi Sudri explained that as the reincarnation of Jonathan and the manifestation of Moshiach ben Yosef, Netanyahu is paving the way for the more transcendent Mashiach ben David, who will immediately follow. It is very clear that we see in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that he is fulfilling his destiny as Mashiach ben Yosef, and that is to say, they say, the reincarnation of Jonathan. And of course, we don't believe in reincarnation, but the name Netanyahu is composed of the same letters as the name Jonathan. This sentiment was repeated by Rabbi Moshe ben Tov, known for his ability to perceive the past and present of people by gazing at the mezuzah on their door. After attaching a mezuzah in the Prime Minister's office, Rabbi ben Tov made a remarkable statement to the Prime Minister. It is very important that your love of Israel continue until the Mashiach comes, because you are going to stay in office and are going to meet him. Rabbi ben Tov said to Netanyahu, "You are the one who will give him the keys to this office." So they're obviously setting it up for the earthly anointed king. Perhaps the most powerful message connecting current political events to the Messiah came from the most obscure source. Almost exactly 1 year ago, a Haredi, ultra-Orthodox 31-year-old Israeli woman named Talia Caroline Eliyahu was going through a spiritual crisis after giving birth. She sensed a dark presence in her home. One night she awoke to change her baby's diaper, and when she returned to sleep, she dreamt of a large chariot with many people in it, including a member of her family. She followed the chariot into a large room where many people were being beaten. In that room, she encountered her deceased grandmother, who said, "You are partly here and partly there." She also saw many holy rabbis she recognized, some alive and some already deceased. One of the rabbis she recognized was Rabbi Dov Cook, a well-known mystic from Tiberias. When the government of Netanyahu crumbles, it is time to get ready for the Mashiach, Rabbi Cook told her in the dream. Talia's vision is taken seriously in her community of Haredi Jews, even more so now that current events indicate they may have relevance. Netanyahu reminds rivals that he is, quote, God's chosen, end quote. It was to Benjamin Netanyahu's good fortune that the date of Israel's change of government just happened to fall on the anniversary of the passing of the Lubavitcher Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson. That provided Bibi with the opportunity to remind his political rivals of what the Rebbe considered by some in the Chabad movement to be the soon-coming Messiah told him decades ago in New York. I am reminded of comments made to me by the rabbi of Lubavitch. You will need to fight with 119 people, all other members of the Knesset, but you will certainly not be impressed by this, as God is on your side. Blessing and success to you. God will give a blessing and success, Netanyahu tweeted. Netanyahu's post, with a tweet of his own showing the incoming prime minister draped in a tallit, accompanied by the priestly benediction, "May God bless you and keep you. May God make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Make no mistake, God and the Bible continue to play a major role in Israeli politics, even if Israeli politicians all too often invoke the Almighty to legitimize their own ambitions. And of course, we know about this article, but I just wanted to refresh your memory about it, which was written September 29th, 2022. Israeli rabbi says he's already holding meetings with Messiah. And no, it's not that Jewish rabbi. That story was proven to be a fake story that people ran with, especially the Christian community. And he's not anybody that they're looking at to be the Messiah. And the Messiah is going to be the anointed one. That's what Messiah means, which means he'll be a king. And King Charles III really fits the bill. A snapshot of Israel's spiritual hunger, as biggest rabbis are afraid to leave the country lest they miss the Messiah's coming. A recent interview on Israeli radio featured prominent rabbis explaining that the Messiah is just about to reveal himself. Rabbi Yaakov Zisholtz told religious broadcaster Radio 2000 that Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, who passed away earlier this year, had told him that he, Kanievsky, was already in direct contact with the Messiah. So they've already got this king picked out, and he's about to be put in place with power and authority at his coronation. To understand why religious Jews are taking this seriously, it's important to know that Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky was considered one of the 2 or 3 top rabbis of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community in Israel. And Rabbi Zisholtz said that Kanievsky and others of the mystical concealed rabbis had tasked him with informing the public of the Messiah's imminent arrival. Rabbi Zisholtz began his explosive 3-hour interview with a warning. He says the process of redemption is about to start happening very quickly and at a fast pace. It is important that people remain calm and steady to act properly in the right time. There is a potential Messiah in every generation, and there are righteous men who know precisely who that is. This is, of course, true in this generation. Getting the word out now that the Messiah is closer than ever is a matter of life and death. Haven't you heard of Gog and Magog? And that is what's going to happen very soon. Right now, the situation is explosive, more than you can possibly imagine. Everyone needs to know whether they are on the inside or if they are going to be left out, left behind. He went on to reiterate a number of signs of which prominent rabbis have taken note, and that they firmly believe to be evidence of the coming of Messiah. But we know that they're going to choose an earthly king to reestablish the Davidic dynasty from the one who has the genealogical line that goes back to Solomon and David. And guess who that is but King Charles III. And he has the circumcision from a Jewish rabbi in the flesh, and he was also born in 1948, exactly when Israel became a nation. And Israel was restored. And to me, that is incredible to realize that they would put him, the one born when they were born, on the throne to be the second beast, to reestablish what was wounded with the sword and yet lived, which was the first beast, which is the monarchy of ancient times of Israel that was completely removed, and there hasn't been a king since. So the first beast is Jerusalem, the ancient monarchy, and the sons and daughters of Zion that the king rules in ancient times. The second beast is going to be the revival of that dynasty, and the whole one world religion, one world government, and it all ties together with the 666 of the carbon, which is the royal cipher of the king, the mark of the beast. These are all things that the Lord revealed to me that I talked about in prior videos. But Rabbi Dov Cook, as everyone knows, is a very righteous man. He's one of the greatest men of our generation. And 10 years ago, when Israel was suffering from a horrible drought, someone asked him when the Sea of Galilee will again be full. And he responded that when the Messiah arrives, the Sea of Galilee will be full. In a few weeks, the Sea of Galilee will be full for the first time since he made that statement. And it's been really full since that time. Decades ago, Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri, one of modern Israel's most revered sages, as well as the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, both predicted that Benjamin Netanyahu would be the state of Israel's last prime minister prior to the Messianic age. A great many, if not most, of the ultra-Orthodox Jews in Israel continue to believe that that is true. And Israel's latest round of elections, near November 1st, 2022, Netanyahu again obtained the victory. And he's now the Prime Minister of Israel again. So, May 6th, 2023 is when King Charles III is going to become the Anointed One and will sit on the stone of Scone the stone of destiny, which is Jacob's pillow stone. And he will be prepared to fulfill the 7-year time of Jacob's trouble, which is Israel's trouble. And I really like what Andy Wood said about the explanation of Matthew 24 and how God, before you get to Matthew 24, you're dealing with Israel in the Olivet Discourse. He's talking to Israel, and then it shows the time that God gave them to accept Jesus as king, and then they rejected their king, and so it's going to pick up in Matthew 24 with the second coming, and that's not talking about the rapture. So it's very, very excellent how he explained the rejection by Israel and how Matthew 24 is something that they will fulfill and not the church. Now let me just share this story from the Times of Israel that was posted January of 2020, and this was titled Prince Charles Meets President Survivors on First Ever Official Visit to Israel. Rivlin welcomes future king, which is now king, recalling his youth during the British Mandate period. Royal plants tree as symbol of hope. The heir to the British throne, which is now King Charles III, then Prince Charles, met with President Reuven Rivlin as he kicked off his first ever official visit to Israel. And the Prince of Wales arrived in Israel Wednesday evening to attend the World Holocaust Forum, marking the 75 years since the liberation of Auschwitz. He's also scheduled to meet with the Palestinian Authority, and his first stop was the official Jerusalem residence of Rivlin in Jerusalem, where he planted a tree. Rivlin thanked the prince for his attendance at the World Holocaust Forum, stressing the need to fight Jew hatred. Quote, "We know where anti-Semitism starts. It starts with the Jewish people, but we never know where it ends," Rivlin said during a brief photo op. "This gathering will show that when we are united, we can fight this ugly phenomenon," the president added, referring to the forum's main event, a memorial ceremony at Yad Vashem later that Thursday, which would be attended by nearly 50 world leaders from across the globe. Rivlin noted that his life had begun 80 years ago in Jerusalem as a citizen of the British Mandate of Palestine. Quote, "I was born as a subject of your grandfather, King George VI, the president told the prince. "And when I was in high school, your mother became Queen of England. I still remember these days. I still remember the day that you took down the British flag and we put on the Israeli flag after the establishment of our state in 1948. Israel adopted many traditions from the British era, including principles of the law," Rivlin said. So just think about that for a minute, that what are the odds of the Queen reigning for 70 years and the one who was born in 1948 that is now the king that claims the Davidic lineage? What are the odds that his mother would just pass away after 70 years long reign, and this king was born when Israel was born, and he's now going to be coronated right as they are saying that they're talking to the Messiah? There is so much that God had to orchestrate for that to happen. So I definitely believe that he's the one that they are going to pick as their king, as their Messiah, as the restoration of the Davidic dynasty. And then Jesus will come and rule and reign and put an end to the earthly kingdoms. There will be no more elections or anything like that. The Lord will be reigning forever. and the fact that Daniel's prophecy was for 70 times 7. So you've got the last 7 after the queen reigned for 70 years, and this king is going to take the throne for the last 7. That is stunning coincidence, which is not coincidence. That is stunning, and it shows you that God is putting every piece into place. Charles told Rivlin that he was enormously grateful for your wonderfully kind words, adding that he fondly remembers his previous trips to Israel. After the press was asked to leave, the two men met privately for about 20 minutes, after which they went to the president's residence garden to plant an English oak. This tree, planted now by the President of the State of Israel and you, Your Royal Highness, is a symbol of hope, Mervis said at the brief ceremony. Now, Rabbi Mervis is the one that they're making the exceptional rule to make sure that he spends the night at Clarence's house the eve before the coronation of King Charles III in Westminster Abbey. It presents the laudable aspirations that the two of you have for high-quality, sustainable development throughout the world. And may the planting of this tree now inspire the sowing of seeds towards a durable peace here in Israel and throughout the Middle East. And Charles later met with a group of Holocaust survivors at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. He was also set to visit the grave of his grandmother, Princess Alice of Battenberg, who was recognized by Yad Vashem as a righteous among the nations for helping save a Jewish family in Greece during the Holocaust. Well, the thing about that is that he's got two ancestors buried there. The other one is Princess Ella, and she was murdered by the Bolsheviks. That she's buried on the Mount of Olives as well as Princess Alice. So they're both considered the righteous, and this is going to give them and their family an inroad into him becoming king there. A few years ago, Charles' father, Prince Philip, planted a tree, also an English oak, in her honor at Yad Vashem. Speaking to the Times of Israel, Rabbi Mervis said Charles's visit to Israel was a symbol of the strength of the ties between the two countries. The fact that the then prince chose the occasion of the holding of the World Holocaust Forum in Jerusalem for his first state visit, and that the heir to our throne is here to show his solidarity on behalf of the whole British people with the Jewish nation at this time, is of enormous importance to the Jews of Britain, he added. I thought that was a very interesting sentence. The heir to our throne is here. And of course he lives in London, but of course he was there in Israel for this meeting. The British monarchy has always shown great friendship and warmth to the state of Israel and to the Jewish people, and I can personally attest to that, the chief rabbi went on. And we celebrate the fact that now we reach normalization in terms of state visits. Seeing Charles in Israel will be a moment to savor for all British people, he said. The royal was set to deliver a speech at the forum's main event at Yad Vashem. Rabbi Mervis said that he had taken no part in the drafting of the prince's address. I have no doubt that Prince Charles, which is now King Charles himself, took a personal interest in the context of what he's going to be saying, and that should say what he's going to be saying, because he is somebody who shows personal passion about the Holocaust, Rabbi Mervis said. He has a particular connection with Holocaust survivors, which he shows again and again through choosing to attend events that are linked to Holocaust survival. He shows enormous warmth to the Jewish people. I don't know what he's going to say, but you can take it that they will be words from his heart and not just the words that someone has put into his mouth. So see, they were already meeting with the Messiah, and he came to visit them. And this is what I believe, that he's definitely the one, the anointed one. Now, we of course know that Jesus is the anointed one, Yeshua HaMashiach of Nazareth, and he's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So Israel rejected their king, just like they did and wanted an earthly king with King Saul. And of course, Jonathan was Saul's son. So they're comparing Benjamin Netanyahu to Jonathan. And guess who is the earthly King Saul replica? But it would be King Charles III that would represent that, except for the fact that he claims the lineage of the tribe of Judah, not the tribe of Benjamin that Saul was under. But my point is, they're reestablishing the Davidic dynasty. And that dynasty basically came to an end. The old monarchy had the deadly wound by a sword because God brought the sword against his own people in Jerusalem, against his temple, and he had this happen again with the Roman situation when Jesus was there, and Jesus said, "Behold, your house has been left to you desolate." Now there's something else, and that is, you remember when Rabbi Berger from King David's tomb, he's the one that watches over King David's tomb. Now you remember that they commissioned a crown to be made for the Messiah, right? And that crown, they showed this really strange looking crown. When they said that they were going to make this crown for the Messiah to give to him. One of them was apparently just symbolic, but they actually raised money on a not a GoFund, but another platform in Israel, to make a gold crown for the Messiah to give to him and present to him. And even though what I'm going to tell you is something that's tradition with the male monarchs, which is on the new coins that will have King Charles III on them. Unlike the Queen, why isn't King Charles III wearing a crown on the new coins? Coins with the new monarch's portrait have been unveiled for the first time. Printed September 30th, 2022. The Royal Mint has unveiled the first coins featuring the portrait of Britain's new sovereign, King Charles III, who took over following the death of Queen Elizabeth II on September 8th. The 50-pence coin and the commemorative £5 coin both include an image of the king created by the sculptor Martin Jennings. The monarch personally approved the effigy and is understood to be pleased with the likeness. Following centuries-old tradition, the new coins show the monarch facing left, the opposite way to his predecessor. But that wasn't the only difference that fans noticed between the new coins and the coins featuring Her Majesty that we're all so familiar with. Can anyone explain why Charles isn't wearing a crown, whereas Queen Elizabeth II always wore hers on coins? One royal fan tweeted as someone else added, "Can anyone explain why Charles won't be wearing a crown on coins, notes, but the Queen always did?" As the previous British kings, and unlike the Queen, King Charles III wears no crown on the coins that feature his portrait. That's because it is tradition that only female monarchs wear a crown on their coins. And if you look back through the coins over the last several hundred years, you'll see just that. Queen Elizabeth II wore a crown on her coins, but her father, King George VI, didn't. Similarly, coins featuring Queen Victoria showed her wearing a crown, whilst her predecessor, King William IV, wore no crown on his coins. What is inscribed on the new King Charles III coins? The full inscription surrounding the effigy reads Charles III, D.G. Rex F.D. £5, 2022, shortened from Latin, which translates to King Charles III, by the grace of God, defender of the faith. What's on the other side of the new King Charles III coins? The reverse of the commemorative £5 coin shows two new portraits of the Queen, charting her journey from a young monarch to a long-standing head of state, as well as the dates of her birth and death. On the 50p coin, the reverse is a copy of the design used on the 1953 coin created to commemorate the Queen's coronation. When will the new King Charles III coins go into circulation? The Royal Mint has confirmed that 50p coins featuring the new monarch's portrait will be sold to collectors from early next week. The coins will then be available for general use before the end of the year, distributed according to demand by banks, building societies, and post offices. Coins featuring King Charles III will co-circulate with coins featuring the late Queen. So those 27 billion coins will still be accepted in shops. From the start of 2023, coins from the 1p up to the £2, which we use in the day-to-day life, will be minted carrying the same image of King Charles III. These coins will be sent out when needed to replace damaged and older coins and to cover any extra demand. According to Anne Jessup, chief executive of the Royal Mint, coins generally last for 20 years, which is why coins of both monarchs will be in circulation together for many years to come. People should not worry if they have coins with the Queen on it. We will keep those coins in circulation, Jessup said. So now let's look at the coin of King Charles III. And you'll see that he's facing left, whereas the Queen faced right. She had a crown, he has no crown on his head. But could it be that there is a crown that's been made that's going to be given to him sometime soon, especially when Rabbi MERVIS was there in Israel with Rivlin, the president, and he's going to be sleeping at Clarence's house on the eve of King Charles III's coronation ceremony. And they have commissioned this gold crown for the Messiah, who will be, by definition, the anointed one and the last king to rule before Jesus descends from heaven. And let me just say that this was causematch.com, where it said, "Unite the 70 nations of the world, create a crown gift for the Messiah." And they had raised $4,651 for this crown to be made. It says, "For more than 2,000 years, the world has waited for the Messiah. With the founding of the State of Israel 70 years ago, many believe that the redemption is imminent. Rabbi Yosef Berger, the rabbi of King David's tomb on Mount Zion, which is where it isn't, and Israel 365 have initiated a special project to create a golden crown to be presented to the Messiah King as a gift upon his arrival in Jerusalem." So did you hear that the Messiah is a king? So it's not going to just be some rabbi that's popular. Though this will not be the crown that the Messiah wears, the one that they're showing that's kind of bizarre looking, it is a symbol of the imminent return of the Davidic dynasty. It says donors of $180 or more will receive a special commemorative and unique temple coin. You have proffered him blessings of good things, have set upon his head a crown of fine gold, says Psalm 21:3. Rabbi Yosef Berger, the rabbi of King David's tomb. Rabbi Berger, a direct descendant of King David, explained that the founding of the State of Israel and the Six-Day War were overt miracles, and that we are today living in the beginning of the Messianic era. Creating such a crown, he said, and uniting the 70 nations of the world around the project will hasten the arrival of the king. So they want to put the Sanhedrin as the Supreme Court of the world and elevate them. Then they want to put this king, that's the restored Davidic dynasty, right there. And then they want to have 70 nations representatives within the Sanhedrin building to basically represent each nation of the 70. For 2,000 years, Israel has waited for the Mashiach, Messiah, Rabbi Berger said, as a symbol of our belief that this period of waiting has ended. We should prepare a crown, since the first act of the Mashiach will be to restore the Davidic dynasty, which will be visibly unlike any other kingship that has ever existed. Berger has a strong personal interest in the project. He is the son of Rabbi Shalom Berger, the spiritual leader of thousands of members of the Mishkals sect of Hasidic Jewry. Rabbi Yosef Berger can trace his family lineage from father to son directly back to King David. To illustrate the special nature of the Davidic dynasty, Rabbi Berger cited the prophet Zechariah, and God will be king over all the earth. In that day there shall be one God and one name. Zechariah 14:9. The rule instituted by the Mashiach will unite all 70 nations. See, so that's the one world government with the representatives there in Jerusalem, bringing them in joy to Mount Zion to serve God, literally the name, Hashem. Rabbi Berger said. The rabbi emphasized that a king of Israel would ensure that the exile would end, the ingathering of the exiles would be complete, and the temple would be rebuilt, and the temple's service reinstated. We are commanded to anticipate this, to pray for it at all times until we merit seeing it with our own eyes, Rabbi Berger said. It is written in the Midrash that the generation that anticipates and yearns for God's kingdom is redeemed immediately. But this anticipation, like every mitzvah, Torah commandment, is made stronger when accompanied by a physical action. Boy, isn't that an interesting phrase? That's exactly what the false Messiah is going to do, is make the covenant stronger that they sign. Wow. Let me restate that. But this anticipation, like every mitzvah, Torah commandment, is made stronger when accompanied by a physical action. So when King Charles III is anointed with the royal holy oil at his coronation, he will be seen as the anointed one. And that will be the action. And giving him this crown will be the action that makes it stronger. Rabbi Berger told a story to illustrate the point concerning a specific tzaddik, righteous man, that many people visited to request blessings. One time, two couples approached him, both requesting to be blessed with a child. The tzaddik complied. The next year, the couples returned. The blessing given to one couple had materialized, but the other couple remained childless. When they asked why their blessing had gone unanswered, the Tzaddik gave a simple answer. After I blessed them, they went out and bought a carriage for the baby, he said. Rabbi Berger explained the lesson illustrated in the story. True belief leads to action, he said, and action strengthens the heart to believe even more. It is the strength of the belief that makes the blessings come true. The rabbi noted that amazing efforts have been made to prepare for the third temple, and all of the utensils stand ready, but no preparations have been made for the Messiah who will build the temple. So they're saying the Messiah will build the temple. He's going to allow it to be coming to pass. Creating a crown for the king is unprecedented, Rabbi Berger said. When all 70 nations unite in an act of love expressly intended for the king in Jerusalem, this will surely be answered by God. Rabbi Berger described rabbis throughout the generations who would go to great lengths to express their anticipation of the Messiah in a material fashion. Designating a room for the Messiah with special furniture, or setting aside a special suit of clothing in which to greet him. These rooms and clothes would remain untouched, waiting for their appointed purpose. In this generation, when it is clear that the Messiah is imminent, merely waiting to reveal himself, we need to prepare our hearts by performing acts that strengthen our belief. Wow. Rabbi Berger said, by preparing an actual crown, we are taking the first step toward bringing the inner vision of a king into reality. The beauty of a true king has not been seen in the world since the exile began, and the prophets assured us that it would return. And if that doesn't give you the chills, I don't know what will. Because when the Lord revealed to me that the first beast in Revelation that had the deadly wound by a sword was Jerusalem and the ancient monarchy, the death of the kings of Israel, there was no more monarchy. And now here they are, and right at the time of Jacob's trouble, right before they build the temple, they are establishing the Davidic dynasty, which is the king, which is the second beast of Revelation. And this is unbelievable that God revealed this to me fairly recently. It was basically when I was writing my book and the Holy Spirit was revealing so much. And then I was working on a second book, and this is what the Lord was showing me about the Scarlet Harlot and Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. And God said that Jerusalem and his people played the harlot against him, and that she was clothed in scarlet. The first beast is Jerusalem, and the ancient monarchy being restored in the last days. So you have also, I believe that there's going to be a representative from each of the 10 tribes of Israel, and those likely are going to be those who receive power as kings for 1 hour with the beast, which is the king. You have to realize that the rabbis in Israel believe that the Messiah is going to regather the tribes. So the 10 tribes of Israel, to me, it seems like those are going to be the 10 kings. That they're not kings, but they receive power as kings for 1 hour with the beast, which is a king. So I just really realized that this is not talking about some remote 10 kings. This is dealing with the restoration of Israel and the ancient monarchy. It deals with the 10 northern tribes, and it deals with Judah and Benjamin. And Jesus illustrated this in the story about the prodigal son. So you had the 10 northern tribes that warred against Judah and Benjamin. They fought each other. And what do we see in Revelation with the two beasts? You know, they're fighting each other. Now, I am doing a little more research on that because it's something the Lord just added to that when I saw that the beast was a king, and King Charles III is going to be restoring the Davidic dynasty, and then they're going to restore representatives of the 10 tribes of Israel. And how do we know that they are going to be restored? Because when we see the 144,000, it lists every single one of the tribes of Israel, the 12 tribes. So you've got the 10 northern tribes, and you've got Judah and Benjamin. So we know that they're going to be restored. So to me, they are the ones that are going to be representing those tribes that are going to receive power as kings for 1 hour with the beast. And they're going to think that this guy is the Messiah, the last earthly king, before the true king, which is God himself, descends from heaven and brings the Davidic dynasty forever. Are these the 10 toes on Nebuchadnezzar's statue? And then Jesus is going to come, and it's all going to come to an end. All of the defilement and everything of Babylon is going to be crushed and destroyed by the rock that descends from heaven. And that's the Messiah, the true King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And he's coming as Mashiach ben David, or David, which is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And he's coming in power, might, and glory as the eternal royal. So they believe that by taking action, you can make this belief stronger and establish a reality to create a king on the throne. If you take action and you make him a golden crown. So I thought it was really interesting, even though it's tradition, that the coins do not have King Charles III wearing a crown, but have the rabbis and Rabbi Mervis. Do they already know who they're going to give the gold crown to? Because he's going to be there at Clarence's house on the eve of Coronation Day. And will they do this later when King Charles III first comes to Jerusalem as the anointed one with power and authority, with the scepter in his hand and the crown on his head? So this is just food for thought. And I just want to share this because some of these things the Lord really revealed to me through the Holy Spirit, and it's just like one thing unravels another thing. And I just share these details with you, and I hope you appreciate it, and that you will just continue to keep watching. And please share my videos and give them a like, because they're really suppressing my channel for some reason, and I should have thousands upon thousands of views with original material. So I hope you found this fascinating. I thought you'd find this information very informative, and that it would just open your eyes more and more of what's happening. And we are on the threshold of the rapture, and the Lord taking those to be with him that are close to the King and walk with the King and have given our hearts to him. And I just want to show you that the crown that they showed was just emblematic. It's not the gold crown that they have commissioned to give to the Messiah when he comes to Jerusalem. So will that be when they hand over the gold crown and give it to King Charles III? Time will tell, but I'm laying it out there so you can see it before it comes to pass. So with that, I'll just say I hope you have a good evening, and until the next video, I'll see you later.